There's a lot more to do in Munich than just the main tourist sites. And as someone who lived there for over 5 years, in today's video, I'm excited to share with you the best things to do in Munich, Germany. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com, and this channel is all about practical travel tips, so be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. And be sure to stick around until the end for a free map with all the places mentioned in this video, as well as recommendations for food and photo spots. Now, before we tackle Munich's main sites, I should say that 2 of the best things to do in Munich are honestly drink Bavarian beer and eat Bavarian food. So let's put that as number 1. In Munich, the beer scene is dominated by 6 breweries that brew within city limits: Augustinerbräu, Hackabschor, Hofbräu, Löwenbräu, Paulaner, and Spaten. These are the breweries allowed to serve their beers at Oktoberfest. Different restaurants, bars, and beer gardens around town will typically pick just one to serve. So keep an eye out for brewery signs that indicate their allegiance and plan your drink strategically so you can sample all 6. In terms of food, Bavarian cuisine is hearty but delicious. So during your visit, make sure you try at least some of the following: Schweinsbraten or Schweinhaxe, which is roast pork, typically wolfed down with a potato dumpling and beer gravy; Obatzda, a delicious Bavarian cheese dip that's available at most beer gardens and beer halls, best enjoyed with a giant pretzel; Händel, roast chicken, a rather self-explanatory specialty; Käsespätzle, bouncy little noodles served with melted cheese and crispy onion; Kaiserschmarrn, a torn pancake dessert topped with sugar and served with jam and applesauce; Dampfnudel, a steamed dumpling served in a pool of vanilla sauce. And make sure you try a classic Bavarian breakfast while you're in town as well. This usually involves Weisswurst, which is a white sausage served with sweet mustard, a pretzel, and wheat beer. Just don't forget to peel your sausages. Now, with all those important must-tries out of the way, let's move on to some sightseeing. We'll begin with activities in Munich's historic Oldtown, with things to do in the district of Altstadt-Lehl. For most visitors, your first stop should be Munich's main square, Marienplatz, which has been the city's main square since the 12th century. Lined with gorgeous buildings like the striking neo-Gothic Neues Rathaus, the new town hall, as well as the beautiful Altes Rathaus, the old town hall, which today houses a toy museum. This square gets especially busy during the daily Glockenspiel performance, which happens at 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. daily, with an additional performance at 5 from March to October. The performance is cute, but fairly short, so don't have your expectations set too high. A more interesting activity might be to actually see the inside of the amazing new town hall instead, which is possible through a guided tour. I can definitely recommend this because inside the town hall is actually one of the most beautiful libraries in the world. At the very least though, don't forget to step through the central archway of the town hall to peep into its little courtyard. It is really beautiful and a nice way to escape the crowds for a bit. Within this square, there are a few great opportunities for epic views as well. The classic one being the leg-melting climb up St. Peter's Tower, which of course gives great postcard views of the Neues Rathaus. But for a slightly easier option that's weirdly less busy, the views from the Neues Rathaus itself are pretty great too. And the bonus is that most of the tough work is done for you through an elevator. Besides these paid options though, you can actually get some nice views from other buildings along the square as well, including the Ludwig Beck department store cafe on the 4th floor, and if you want a scenic place for a drink, Café Glockenspiel. From Marienplatz, you're steps away from Viktualienmarkt, Munich's thriving food market featuring stalls crammed with colorful produce, fresh bites to go, and a bustling beer garden. Whether you want to shop or not, this market is well worth a nosy perusal. Keep an eye out for the market's large maypole, identifiable by its blue and white pattern, and figures representing the different trades that can be found in and around the area. It's actually carved out of the large Christmas tree that is set up every year for the big Christmas market in Marienplatz, so now you know. Another fun fact is you are actually allowed to bring food and picnics into any of Munich's beer gardens, so you can grab food from one of the many vendors, buy a beer, and enjoy it all in the sunshine. Now, the next thing to do is honestly just make the most of exploring Munich's beautiful Old Town, namely the area enclosed within the old city walls. Here are some highlights. First, the majestic Frauenkirche. The iconic onion domes of this Munich church are undoubtedly some of the city's most recognizable landmarks, thanks to a rule that says no building in the city center may exceed them in height. While the interior is not as stunningly ornate as some of the other churches in the city, it does have a very peculiar attraction: a devil's footprint in the back of the church. And after a decade of restorations, the South Tower is now open once again for visitors, offering some of the best views in the city. Next, we have the Munich Residenz. This massive, epic palace can be found right in the middle of the city, and was where for centuries Bavarian rulers and decision-makers lived in opulent splendor. While sadly, much of the Residenz was destroyed during World War II, it has been gradually restored over the years and is open to visitors today. While you might not have time to actually tour the attraction inside, even walking by, admiring the facades and courtyards is well worth it. Behind the Residenz is Hofgarten, a garden as opulent as you might expect from Bavarian royals, designed in Italian Renaissance style. The Bavarian State Chancellery building can also be found here on the east side of the garden. It's a beautiful building to admire, which many do, but most do miss the moving memorial hidden in the building's courtyard, which is dedicated to soldiers who lost their lives in World War I. Now, from Hofgarten, you're also close to one of the other main squares in Munich's Oldtown, Odeonsplatz. While the square dates back to the early 19th century, what's especially striking about it is if you look back on historical photos, it's remained largely unchanged. Its focal point, the Feldherrnhalle, is actually inspired, or, well, copied from the famous Loggia dei Lanzi in Florence. Today, you'll usually find Odeonsplatz as a stage for countless festivals and events, and a great jumping point for further explorations like over to the Mustard-Yellow Theatinerkirche, which has a gorgeous all-white interior, and the small street of Vicardigasse just behind, where you'll find gold-laced cobblestones as an homage to those who took this alternative walking route as an act of protest against the Nazi Party, who once required that passerbyers to the Feldherrnhalle do the Nazi salute as they passed. Taking this alternative route became a quiet sign of protest, and the golden cobbles mark their bravery even today. On a lighter note, another touristy though worthwhile place to stop in Munich's Old Town is the world-famous Hofbräuhaus. This iconic beer hall may be full of tourists rather than locals most of the time, but it is a lot of fun, with a leafy beer garden, beautiful interior decor, live music, and even a gorgeous Festhalle upstairs, which many visitors miss. If you can't make it to Oktoberfest, this is a great way to get a taste for the festive vibes. If you're not keen to rub elbows with your fellow tourists though, do know that each of Munich's big 6 breweries do actually have their own flagship beer halls as well, in addition to the many other beer taverns and halls scattered around the city. So you're really spoiled for choice when it comes to places to drink beer. The Spaten Beer Hall, for instance, known as Spatenhaus, can be found at Max-Joseph-Platz, a beautiful square where you'll also find Munich's National Theatre, with its striking neoclassical facade. This is one of the most photogenic spots in Munich, especially with the beautiful buildings opposite the theatre with outdoor seating that spills out into the street in summer months. From here, you're also steps away from Maximilianstrasse, the most luxurious shopping street in Munich, with high fashion brands for days and plenty of great shopping opportunities, window or otherwise, leading you to the Maximilianium at the end, home of Bavaria's state parliament, and if you can believe it, a hyper-exclusive student residence and also a swanky Sunday brunch. For a more manageable shopping experience, you can also visit Kaufingerstrasse and Neuhauserstrasse. These two combined make up Munich's main pedestrianized shopping street. Containing all the usual suspects of European retail like Zara and H&M, the shopping here isn't terribly unique, but there are a few notable sites, including the German Hunting and Fishing Museum, and St. Michael's Church, which is home to the crypt and final resting place of the Wittelsbach family, who famously ruled Bavaria for centuries. At the end of the shopping strip, you'll reach Karlsplatz, also known by its more popular name, Stachus. This lively square is dominated by Karlstor, the former city gate, and other beautiful buildings, including the historic courthouse, aka Justispalast, across the street. This is one of my favorite hidden gems in Munich, and it's free to enter, by the way, so be sure to check out its gorgeous interiors. Now, speaking of city gates, there's 2 others you can visit in Munich's Old Town. The Isar, which is home to a small museum, and Sendlinger Tor, which mainly offers a nice photo op. It is, however, close to one of the most beautiful churches in the city, Asamkirche. Intended originally to be a private church designed by rich artists for themselves, permission was only granted to build this church after they promised access would be open for everyone. Today, they've made good with that promise, and this tiny church is a Baroque masterpiece that's beloved by locals and visitors alike, filled with ornate details that you have to see to believe. Another noteworthy square close to here is St. Jakobsplatz, where you'll find the Munich City Museum, as well as the Munich Jewish History Museum. Of course, Munich's Old Town isn't all just about opulence, grandeur, and historic sites. There are some stranger spots too, like the confusing Michael Jackson Memorial, found right in front of the luxurious Bayerischer Hof Hotel. Here, fans have turned a statue of a famous composer into a memorial and shrine to the king of pop, Michael Jackson, with photos, candles, fresh flowers, and more. It has been this way since Jackson's death in 2009, and is meticulously maintained by adoring fans over a decade later. Alright, let's pivot a little. Munich's Old Town has a lot of historic sightseeing opportunities, but I'd say the green side of Munich is part of what makes the city so special. So, another must-see in the Altstadt-Lehl neighborhood is watching surfers on Munich's famous river wave, the Eisbergwelle. This unique man-made standing wave hosts a consistent stream of river surfers and has become a bit of a Munich icon and endless source of entertainment. I used to live by here and can confirm that there are surfers here day and night no matter the weather, as well as a lesser-known beginner's wave further down the garden if you want some more realistic clips. There are also some excellent museums in this area as well, like the Haus der Kunst, an imposing art gallery that was constructed in the 1930s as a museum showcasing Germany's finest art. There's also the Bavarian National Museum, which is home to a massive collection of European artifacts and decorative arts. Now, if you're looking to do something outdoors instead though, good news. It's time to explore the famous English Garden. This massive park in the middle of Munich ranks among the largest city parks in the entire world, and is of course one of the most popular hangout spots in the city when the sun comes out. Highlights of a visit here include the park's Greek monopteros, Japanese tea room and garden, and of course the Chinese Tower, one of Munich's most famous landmarks that, to be honest with you, is not at all Chinese in any form. Nonetheless, the Chinese Tower Beer Garden is one of the most popular beer gardens in Munich. Here you'll find a huge selection of traditional Bavarian foods, and of course plenty of giant beers to keep you going, as well as live music from the tower during the warmer months. If you're looking for a quieter and slightly less touristy alternative nearby though, there's also the gorgeous Seehaus Beer Garden, set by a big glassy lake which I can highly recommend for sunset. Now let's escape Altstadt-Lehl and move over to the hip and student-centric neighborhood of Maxvorstadt. If you exit the west side of the English Garden from this street, you'll be able to walk over to one of this neighborhood's most prominent landmarks, the Siegestor, a memorial arch originally dedicated to Army glory, today dedicated to peace. This is mainly just a photo opportunity, but it's worth noting that the buildings around here mostly belong to the Ludwig-Maximilians-Universität, one of Germany's most prestigious universities. At Geschwister-Scholl-Platz, in front of the main university building, you'll see a memorial dedicated to the White Rose Resistance Group, an anti-Nazi resistance group run by LMU students. In their memory, you now see bronze replicas of their leaflets embedded in the square's cobblestones. If you want to learn more about this group, the university does actually have a little-known permanent exhibition inside that is fully dedicated to them, so be sure to check that out. Another prominent feature of this neighborhood is its number of amazing museums, especially in the Kunsthaus district, which is home to 18 museums and exhibition centers and over 40 galleries. Needless to say, you have tons of choices, but if I were you, I'd time my visit for a Sunday if possible, because many museums in Munich offer €1 admission specifically on this day. There are a ton of museums to explore here, so I'll just outline a few highlights. One must-see for sure is Königsplatz, a gorgeous square filled with cool neoclassical monuments, including a huge city gate, the Glyptothek, which is home to an impressive collection of sculptures, and the Bavarian State Collection of Antiquities. Another nice highlight right by here is the Lenbach House, a modern and contemporary art museum, which I honestly love mainly for its gorgeous garden. While the museum requires a ticket, the garden is open to the public for free, so be sure to pop in for a look. A short walk from Königsplatz is the fascinating NS Documentation Center, which explains the rise and fall of the Nazi Party, established right here in Munich, through several floors of photos, documents, and quotes that shed light on this dark but important piece of the city's past. If you're interested in Munich's Third Reich history, this is definitely a must visit. If art is more your speed though, 3 of the main museums in this neighborhood are dedicated to just that, the 3 Pinakotheks. There's the Alte Pinakothek, which covers art from the 14th to 18th century. The Neue Pinakothek, which covers European art from 18th and 19th centuries, and the Pinakothek der Moderne, which covers modern art. This one is my favorite, with fun, bold, and strange exhibits and cool installations in the courtyard, like this UFO-looking Futuro house. And while not very extravagant, the St. Boniface Abbey can be found here as well, and is notable because it contains the tombs of King Ludwig I and Queen Theresa of Saxe-Hildburghausen, a royal couple whose legacy is still celebrated today because it was their wedding that actually marked the very first Oktoberfest. Now, after all that sightseeing, you might want some ice cream. In that case, make sure you visit Der Verrückte Eismacher, known for its Alice in Wonderland aesthetic and inventive rotation of ice cream flavors, which includes Bavarian treats like Augustiner beer and some really weird ones like sauerkraut. Their original location can be found just behind the main LMU building. They also have a second one now in the Ludwigsvorstadt-Isarvorstadt district, which makes a great segue because there's a lot more to do there as well. The first is, of course, to get your geek on at the Deutsches Museum. If you have the time, the Deutsches Museum is one of the largest science and technology museums in the world, and a very cool stop for science geeks and curious kids, although it does take some time to get through. So I wouldn't necessarily prioritize it unless you're really into science. While here, you can also explore the Glockenbachviertel, one of the most vibrant districts in Munich, known as the epicenter of Munich's LGBTQ+ scene, as well as the go-to spot for cool bars, cafes, and food spots. This is a pretty ideal place to grab lunch or a coffee, so again, be sure to consult my free map for food recommendations. Another interesting site near this neighborhood is the Theresienwiese, the world-famous site of Oktoberfest. Though be warned, it's very empty when no festival is happening. You can climb up the Lady Bavaria statue though, and there's often other events that happen here during other times of year, like the Frühlingsfest Spring Festival and Winter Tollwood, which happens during the holiday season. Now, just a short walk away from the Lady Bavaria statue, you'll find a unique photo op outside an office building of all places, the infinite staircase known as the Umschreibung. This beautiful piece of public art is over 9 meters tall and leads nowhere, but hey, it's pretty cool to look at. Another must-do in this neighborhood is a walk or picnic along the Isar River. This is where you'll find all the locals hanging out once the weather gets warm, with special grill zones along the river that are perfect for summer barbecues. Now, at this point, we've addressed most of the main must-sees in the touristy heart of Munich, but there's of course a lot more to see and do once you venture outwards, which is easy thanks to Munich's compact size and excellent public transport. While many parts of the city are residential, there are still some nice neighborhoods and pockets to explore, so I'll go through them now. Let's start with the iconic Munich Olympiapark. As suggested by its name, this park was built for the 1972 Olympics, with futuristic structures that feel worlds away from the historic buildings of the Oldtown. Today, the park continues to be a central hub of activity, with loads to see. The Olympiasee, for instance, is a lake that is lined with Munich's own little walk of fame, with handprints and signatures embedded into the ground from famous celebrities. There's also the Olympic Tower, which has amazing views and a rock and roll museum at the top. Attractions like the Sea Life Munich. And for those interested in it, the Olympic Stadium is actually open for visits as well, where you can climb the unique roof or even go ziplining. Honestly though, some of the best things to do here are free, like admiring the iconic BMW headquarters building, enjoying the amazing view from Olympiaberg, or indulging your inner car and motorcycle geek at BMW World, a massive interactive showcase for the BMW brand, where you can look at all their cars, get inside them, hop on some motorcycles, and even, if budget allows, indulge in one of the most expensive fine dining experiences that Munich has to offer at the top floor restaurant. If you're really into BMW, you can also pay a visit to the BMW Museum for a more thorough walkthrough of BMW history through vintage cars. Now, a unique place to visit in this park as well is the charming Olympiadorf. And yes, I am biased because this is the first place I lived when I moved to Munich as a student. Long story short, this is where athletes lived during the 1972 Olympics, since converted into student housing, where students live in small cube houses called bungalows that they're free to paint however they wish. This, over the years, has created an amazing array of colorful and artistic facades on each house, with nods to pop culture, inside jokes, and more. It really is a special place. Though do remember that at the end of the day, this is a residential area, so please be respectful if you come by. Not too far from here as well is one of the quirkier spots in Munich that I feel like nobody talks about, so I'll just mention it really quickly. Located near the Olympia Einkaufszentrum U-Bahn stop is a very unique curved basketball court that serves as an interactive piece of public art that you can actually play on. Sort of random, but really cool. Next, let's talk about a gorgeous gem northeast of the city center, Schloss Nymphenburg, or Nymphenburg Palace. Once upon a time, Nymphenburg Palace was the go-to summer residence of the Bavarian royal family. Originally commissioned in the 17th century, incoming royals kept adding, building, and spending, turning the palace and park into the sprawling estate it is today. Besides marveling at the gorgeous palace, whose width exceeds even that of Versailles, visitors can buy a ticket to explore the gorgeous inner rooms, go for a walk on the extensive palace grounds, visit the many on-site museums dedicated to everything from carriages and porcelain to nature, go on a pricey but romantic Venetian gondola ride, and even visit the Munich Botanical Garden. Not far from here, you'll also find Hirschgarten, which is the largest beer garden in Bavaria, with over 8,000 seats and some special guests, deer. Just as its name, which translates to deer garden, implies, this beer garden is famous for its friendly set of deer, who graze and frolic just steps away from where you can enjoy a delicious lunch of classic Bavarian eats and drinks. Be careful though, it's very easy to lose an entire afternoon here. Next, here's one for football fans. In the northern part of the city, you'll find the iconic Allianz Arena, home of course to the world-famous FC Bayern football club. If you manage to get tickets to a game, that's no doubt the best way to enjoy the stadium's atmosphere. But you can also book a stadium tour as well. Now, in terms of pretty neighborhoods to explore, one of my personal favorites is Schwabing, a historically artsy and bohemian district that doesn't have many landmarks or tourist attractions, but is an architecture lover's dream thanks to its high density of Art Nouveau, or in German, Jugendstil mansions. If you're looking for a pretty and quiet neighborhood for a stroll, this is it. Another one of my favorite places for this purpose is Heidhausen, a village-like neighborhood that is filled with picturesque streets and beautiful squares, like its central square, Wienerplatz, which is surrounded by cute fairy tale houses, a leafy beer garden, and charming boutiques. A peculiar highlight of this district is while here you can even watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show at a Guinness World Record holding cinema known for having shown it every week for the past 30 years. You can head to Museum Lichtspiel for this bizarre honor. Just outside of Heidhausen, in the swanky Bogenhausen neighborhood, you'll find one of Munich's most recognizable landmarks, the Friedensengel, Angel of Peace, marked by a 38-meter-high Corinthian column topped with a not-so-subtle golden angel, representing, of course, peace. More notably, though, there's an incredible sunset view here from its terrace, as well as some cool, colorful murals in the tunnel below. Now, switching to a completely different vibe, another cool area to hang out on this side of the river is the Werksviertel Mitte, located just behind Ostbahnhof train station, with lots of cool murals and unique small businesses housed in shipping containers, as well as the Ummedom, a large Ferris wheel that offers faraway views of Munich's skyline. To be honest, I always thought this was a weird place for it, since the surrounding area isn't the most scenic views-wise, but hey, just know it's there if you're looking for something more unusual to do. Further south, there's another pretty neighborhood that's great for a walk, Untergiesing. Some highlights here include a lovely rose garden by the Isar, lots of cool street art and large-scale murals, the whimsical hangout spot Gunsville Anders, which looks like a fairy tale house, and the neighborhood's own Little Venice. Though don't get your hopes up because it's just a little stream with some cute houses, but it's nice nonetheless. Across the river from here, you'll find two of Munich's more alternative venues. Bonfette Thiel is a hip hangout spot that hosts various parties and events throughout the year, with different bars scattered across a large venue decorated with repurposed shipping containers and structures, plus tons of graffiti. And the MS Uting is literally an old boat perched on a bridge that is now a hangout spot where you can get plenty of food and drink. Fairly random, but the atmosphere here is always pretty cool. Further west, another beautiful gem of the city is West Park. If you want a calm, nature-oriented escape, then this is a beautiful part of Munich to explore, so long as you don't mind venturing a bit far out of the city center. There's plenty to enjoy here year-round, from fall foliage and spring blooms, to outdoor movies and a beautiful rose garden in the summer. P.S. Make sure you don't miss the Thai temple, Japanese garden, and Chinese garden. They're truly some of the prettiest spots in the city. Finally, if time allows, one thing I can definitely recommend doing is a day trip out of the city. There are so many possibilities with public transport, whether you're looking for fairy tale castles, gorgeous lakes, iconic film locations and film studios, or even the highest peak in Germany. Now, needless to say, this video only scrapes the surface with what there is to do in Munich. So be sure to check out the written version of this guide for a full list of things to do, plus a map that details all the places discussed in this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.